Dr. Hayes didn't gasp. He didn't slam his clipboard down on the counter or shout down the hall for a nurse. He just stopped. He read the printout in his hand one more time. Then he looked up at me, Mac, and he said absolutely nothing for what felt like 4 solid seconds. 4 seconds is a long time when a kid is passed out in your lap. 4 seconds is a lifetime when that kid is your granddaughter. Sir, his voice came out carefully, dialed back. The way you talk to someone when you're bracing for them to snap. How long has she been drinking this fruit punch? Chloe, who just turned 8 last Saturday, the birthday girl I'd let down, was dead asleep against my chest. Not napping, not drowsy, out cold. The kind of sleep that has no business happening on a Thursday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. in a pediatric clinic out in Naperville, Illinois. I looked down at her pale little face, then back up at Dr. Hayes. I don't know, I said. That's why we're here. Welcome to my channel. Get comfortable and remember, the people in these stories had every opportunity to do the right thing. They just chose the wrong one. Drop a comment, hit that like button, and make sure you're subscribed. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this. Let me rewind. 2 hours earlier, same day. Chloe's birthday was the Saturday before, May 3rd. She turned 8. I missed it not because I didn't care, not because it slipped my mind. I'd been flat on my back with a blown lumbar disc that entire week, the same disc I've been fighting with since I tore it pulling a transmission in 2021. And by the time I could stand up straight enough to get behind the wheel, the bounce house was deflated. The cupcakes were eaten, and my granddaughter had turned 8 without me there. That ate at me more than the nerve pain ever did. I kept picturing her sitting at the patio table, blowing out candles, scanning the yard looking for me. So, Thursday, May 8th, around 1:15 inches the afternoon, I put on a clean shirt, strapped a big silver gift box into the passenger seat of my Chevy Silverado, and drove from my spot in Downers Grove all the way up to Barrington. The game plan was easy. Drop off the gift, take her to get frozen yogurt, let her talk my ear off about everything I missed every present. Every friend from school who showed up and just be present. Just be Grandpa. 5 days late, but I was going to make it right. It's crazy how the simplest plans end up turning into the heaviest days of your life. I pulled up the driveway and rang the bell. Brooke opened the door, her iPhone glued to her hand, barely making eye contact. Hey Brooke, brought a little something for the birthday girl. I know I'm running late this year. She's in her room. She stepped aside so I could walk in, already turning her back to me. I'm on a work call. I stood in the foyer for a second, holding that silver box, feeling exactly like what I was. A guy who missed his granddaughter's big day, showing up almost a week late hoping a stuffed animal would fix it. Real smooth, Mac. I headed up the stairs. Chloe's room is at the end of the hall. She's got a wooden plaque on the door. Purple paint, asterisk Chloe's cave. Keep out. Asterisk, I knocked soft. Hey kiddo, it's Grandpa. Silence. Then some shuffling. Then the door cracked open. Chloe stood there, and the bottom fell out of my stomach. She looked off. Not flu off, not allergies off. She looked weighed down. Her eyes were glazed, blinking too slow, like she was staring at me through a thick pane of glass. Grandpa. She smiled, but her face muscles lagged behind the emotion. Hey there, birthday girl. I kept my tone light, dropping down to one knee so we were eye to eye. Sorry I missed the big bash, sweetie. You still in a celebrating mood? Yeah. She leaned her shoulder heavily against the doorframe. I'm just really tired. Tired. I checked my watch. It was barely 1:45 inches the afternoon. She gave me a little shoulder raise, the classic 8-year-old shrug that says adults worry too much. I stepped into her room and sat on the edge of the mattress, handing her the silver box. She peeled the paper off, but it was in slow motion. Kids tear into presents like wild animals. She was moving like she was underwater. When she pulled out the brown bear I bought her, a genuine smile finally broke through, wide and real. I'm going to call him Barnaby, she said. Barnaby? Fits him perfectly. She held the bear up, staring at it with that intense focus kids get when they instantly bond with a toy. Then she placed him right in the middle of her pillows, patted his head, and went completely quiet. That specific, Heavy silence kids get right before they say something they're scared to say. I didn't push. I just waited. She looked up at me, locked eyes with me, making sure the hallway was empty. Then she stepped in close, putting both of her small hands on my forearm. My gut was already screaming. My brain was just trying to catch up. "Grandpa," she whispered, "can you tell Mom to stop putting the special stuff in my fruit punch? It makes my head fuzzy and I hate it." The floor didn't drop out from under me. I didn't start yelling. I didn't shake her and demand she repeat it. I just nodded, slow and steady, like she'd just told me it was raining outside. "You got it, kiddo." I stood up, offering her my hand. "Come on. Let's go for a ride. I need you to understand how I operate. I am not a guy who flies off the handle, but I know when a situation is critically wrong the exact same way I know when a motor is misfiring. You don't always hear the ping. Sometimes you just feel it vibrating up through the steering column. A hesitation, a hard shift, something is failing, and your hands know it before your head diagnoses it." I walked her downstairs. Brooke was in the kitchen, leaning against the marble island, laughing at something on her screen. Laughing. "I'm gonna take Chloe out for some birthday froyo," I called out. "Just the two of us." Brooke waved a hand without even turning her head. "Yeah, whatever, have fun." Didn't even look at her own kid. I strapped Chloe into the passenger side of my charcoal gray Silverado. She still sits in a booster. I fired up the truck and backed out of Barrington, keeping the needle pinned exactly on the speed limit the whole way toward Naperville. I didn't call Jake. Not yet. I didn't dial 911. Not yet. First, I needed hard data. The pediatric urgent care in Oak Creek was the only one I trusted. Dr. Hayes had treated Chloe a few times for strep throat, and he was a straight shooter. No sugarcoating, no medical jargon to make himself sound smart. I walked up to the reception window, told them we had a situation, and when they brought us back to room 3, I sat down and gave Dr. Hayes the exact quote, word for word. The whisper, the glazed eyes, the sluggish movements. He didn't brush me off. He didn't give me that patronizing times grandpa is being paranoid times smile. He looked over at Chloe, who was sitting on the exam paper chewing on a graham cracker like nothing was wrong, and he immediately ordered a full workup. Blood, urine, tox screen, the works. "Give me 45 minutes, he said. So we waited. 20 minutes in, Chloe slid off the exam table, curled up against my ribs on the plastic visitor chair, and fell dead asleep. No tossing, no turning. Just gone. I sat there like a statue, staring at the medical posters on the wall, thinking about her leaning against that doorframe, needing the wood to keep herself vertical. I thought about the fact that my back almost kept me home today. What if I had waited until Sunday? The door clicked open. Dr. Hayes walked in. He had a printout in his hand. He looked at the paper, looked at me, and he just stopped. 4 seconds. "Sir, how long has she been drinking this fruit punch?" "What did you find?" I asked, my voice flat. He sat down on his rolling stool and handed me the paper. "Doxylamine succinate. You'd know it as the heavy-duty stuff in nighttime cold medicine. Safe if you have a wicked flu, and take the exact recommended dose." But the lab numbers, and I'm quoting Dr. Hayes here, were highly indicative of chronic, deliberate administration over an extended time frame. Not a mix-up, not a one-time mistake. Chronic, deliberate, extended. I read the highlighted text 3 times. Then I folded my hands together, took a deep breath through my nose, and pushed it out through my teeth. "Is the mother at the house right now?" Dr. Hayes asked, keeping his voice low. "Yes. Mac, you know I'm mandated by law to call this in." "I know." I looked him dead in the eye. "Give me 24 hours. Please." He studied my face for a long time. Whatever he was looking for, he found it. He saw that I wasn't going to do anything stupid, that I wasn't going to drive back to Barrington and put a tire iron through Brooke's windshield, even though every cell in my body was screaming to do exactly that. "Tomorrow," he finally said, "by 9 a.m. If you haven't handled it, I make the call." Deal. I carried Chloe out to the truck, buckled her in, and put it in drive. Barnaby the bear was wedged under her chin. The drive back down to Downers Grove took exactly 42 minutes. I know, because I counted every single mile marker. Chloe slept the entire ride. breathing deep and slow. Her little fingers dug into that stuffed bear like it was a life preserver. I didn't turn on the radio. I let the silence fill the cab. Silence is a tool. It strips away the noise and leaves you with the facts. I thought about the silver box, the 5 days I spent beating myself up over missing a party, while right under my nose, a living nightmare was happening to my granddaughter. I spent 40 years diagnosing busted engines. When a block is cracked that deep, you don't fix it by swinging a hammer. You fix it with a surgical teardown. And I was lacing up my boots. The worst part about finding out you've been betrayed isn't the rage. It's the audit. Flipping backward through the calendar. Remembering every weird comment you ignored. Every red flag you justified. Every gut feeling you buried because you gave someone the benefit of the doubt. I didn't sleep a wink that night. Not because I was a wreck. Let me make that crystal clear. Mac does not fall apart. I sat in my recliner in the dark, a mug of black coffee turning to ice on the coaster next to me, and I mapped it out. Step 1, Step 2. What are the known variables? What are the unknowns? What is the tactical approach to blow this wide open? Known. My granddaughter was being chemically sedated in her own home by her own mother. Unknown. For how long, to what extent, and the biggest question of all, why? The times, why times, is what kept my eyes open until sunrise. If you're still with me, do me a solid, hit subscribe. A ton of folks watch these videos without hitting the button, but it's free for you, and it keeps the lights on for us. Smash that like button, and let me know what you do in the comments. Friday, May 9th, 7:15 a.m., I dialed Jake. I wasn't going to drop the bomb on him. Not yet. I needed to gauge his reality first. Needed to see where his head was at before I dropped a nuke on his marriage. He picked up on the first ring, sounding wide awake. Jake's always been a morning guy. Gets it from his old man. Hey, Dad. Everything good? Everything's great, buddy. Listen, how's Chloe been lately? You notice her acting a little sluggish? There was a pause. The kind of pause where a guy actually stops typing on his laptop to think. Actually, yeah. She's been taking a ton of naps. Brooke says she's hitting a massive growth spurt. He paused again. Why? What's up? Growth spurt. I kept my voice perfectly level. Nothing major. Just felt terrible about missing her birthday. Hey, would you and Brooke mind if I took her off your hands for a week? Let her crash at my place? Do some grandpa stuff to make up for the missed party. I could hear the relief in his voice. Dad, she'd go crazy for that. Let me run it by Brooke, but I'm sure it's fine. Thanks, Jake. I ended the call and just stared at the wall. Growth spurt. Jake had looked at his little girl glazed eyes, heavy feet, sleeping through the afternoon, and stamp times. Growth spurt times on it because his wife handed him the stamp. That doesn't make him a garbage father. It makes him a guy wearing a blindfold. There's a massive difference, and I had to keep that in mind. By 10 a.m., I was sitting in the leather chairs of Tom Vance's law office. Tom was a bulldog attorney who helped me untangle my late wife's estate years ago. He was a guy who didn't sugarcoat a damn thing. I walked in and dumped my hand on his desk. The clinic paperwork, Dr. Hayes's notes, the lab results I'd scanned into my phone. Tom put his reading glasses on and didn't make a sound for a solid 3 minutes. Then he took the glasses off and tossed them on the desk. Mac, tell me you know exactly what we're looking at here. I do. Reckless endangerment of a minor, maybe worse depending on how long she's been doing it. Who else is in the loop? Me, the pediatrician, you. That's it. Not Jake? Not until I have the rest of it. Tom nodded, a grim look on his face. Smart play. You bring this to a husband, his default setting is going to be denial. You need a mountain of evidence so high he can't climb over it. Tell me what to build the mountain out of. Medical charts, which you have. Bank and pharmacy records, if we can subpoena them. And you need eyes on the wife. Today, Tom slid a matte black business card across the desk. Vince Keller, private investigator. Covers Cook and DuPage counties. He's a ghost. And he gets results. I put the card in my wallet. One last thing, Tom said as I stood up. When Jake texts you that it's okay to take the kid, you drive over there and get her out of that house immediately. Way ahead of you, Tom. Jake texted me at 11:45 a.m. Asterisk Brooke says absolutely. Thinks a change of scenery will be awesome for her. Call it a bonding week. Asterisk. A bonding week. She was handing off her drugged child without a second thought. Didn't ask what we were doing. Didn't set any ground rules. I filed that away in the mental folder. I parked in front of the Barrington house at 2 p.m. on the dot. Chloe was sitting on the porch steps with a duffel bag and Barnaby the bear. Brooke didn't even come to the door. I threw the bag in the truck bed and buckled Chloe in. She was already looking a little sharper today. Maybe the junk was working its way out of her system, or maybe just stepping off that property was the cure. Are we going on a road trip, Grandpa? She asked. The best kind, kiddo, I told her, and I wasn't lying. Let me give you the background on Brooke, and I'll play it straight, because facts matter more than feelings. Brooke had a rough start. Jake told me early on. Grew up broke on the south side of Chicago, bouncing between apartments. She clawed her way up, got a degree, got a corporate gig, and built this pristine, catalog-perfect life. When Jake first brought her around, she was sharp, driven, and I honestly respected her hustle. But at some point, and none of us caught it, the life she built became a prison she had to manage. Jake was flying out to conferences every other week. Chloe was high energy, loud, and messy, exactly the way a healthy kid should be. And Brooke was stuck in that massive suburban house, losing her grip on her perfect aesthetic. I'm not giving her a pass. Not even close. But I'm old enough to know the difference between someone who is pure evil and someone who is desperately selfish. What I was about to find out from Vince Keller was just how selfish she'd become. Vince texted me late Friday afternoon. Asterisk. Got a hit. Meet me? Asterisk, asterisk. Denny's off Route 59. 20 minutes. Asterisk. Vince was already in a booth when I walked in. He looked like a guy who sold insurance. Completely forgettable face. Perfect for his line of work. He pushed a thick manila envelope across the Formica table. Look at the timestamps, Vince said, taking a sip of water. I pulled the photos out. Crisp, clear, undeniable. Brooke and some guy I didn't recognize. Sharp haircut, expensive suit, the kind of guy who spends too much time at country clubs. Valet receipts from the downtown Marriott. Dinner receipts from River North. His name is Chase Miller, Vince said quietly. Wealth management. 36. How long? I asked, staring at a picture of them walking into a hotel lobby. From the digital footprint I could dig up, at least 9 months. 9 months. Chloe was 8. I ran the timeline in my head, and it made me sick to my stomach. Does he have kids? I asked. Nope. Single. Vince leaned forward. And the nights she's meeting him downtown aligned perfectly with Jake's out-of-state travel schedule. She needed a babysitter. But a babysitter asks questions. A babysitter notices things. So she made her own babysitter out of over-the-counter pharmaceuticals. I slid the photos back into the envelope. Vince just sat there, giving me space to process the fact that my daughter-in-law had traded my granddaughter's neurological health for a hotel keycard. Does Chase know? I grumbled. Knows she's married. Knows she has a kid, Vince said. Brooke complains to him that Chloe is a handful and needs to be asleep before she can sneak out. He never asked how she guarantees the kid stays asleep. Trash. Both of them. 2 grown adults, and neither one gave a damn about a little girl. And then there was Jake, busting his hump to pay the mortgage, trusting his wife blindly, completely in the dark. I threw a 20 on the table for Vince's coffee, grabbed the envelope, and walked out. I need hard copies of everything. Dates, credit card swipes, all of it. By tomorrow morning, Vince said. I drove back to Downers Grove with the windows rolled down. Spring in Chicago has a crispness to it, that sharp wind coming off the lake. I needed the cold air to keep my head right. When I got home, Chloe was asleep in the spare bedroom. Real sleep. The safe, restorative kind. Barnaby was tucked under her chin. I watched her chest rise and fall for a minute. Then I walked into the kitchen, pulled out my old ledger, the one I used to use for ordering auto parts, and I started building the timeline. I wrote down the clinic notes, the talk screen, the dates from Vince's photos. Bulletproof. I called Tom Vance and left a voicemail. Asterisk light the fuse. Asterisk. Then I called Jake. I didn't sound panicked. I just said, Jake, cancel your weekend plans. Come over to the house tonight. Jake pulled into my driveway around 6 p.m. in his black Lexus SUV. He strolled up the walkway in a quarter-zip sweater, looking totally relaxed, expecting a casual Friday night dinner. He was clueless. Chloe was in the living room watching cartoons with her headphones on. I made sure she was distracted. What was going to happen in my kitchen was strictly classified. I had grilled ribeyes, baked potatoes, and cold beers waiting. It was the exact meal I made for Jake whenever the world kicked his teeth in. When he got cut from varsity baseball. When his first serious girlfriend dumped him. I never told him it was my crisis menu, but the routine mattered. He walked in, gave me a bear hug, and sniffed the air. Smells incredible. Chloe doing okay? She's great. Getting her energy back. He grinned. Told you. Growth spurt. He pulled out a bar stool at the island. So, what's the occasion, Dad? You sounded serious on the phone. Eat first, I said. He gave me that sideways look he's been giving me since he was in middle school. The one that means times. You're acting weird times. But he cut into his steak. I let him eat. I let him enjoy the cold beer. I gave him 20 minutes of peace before I burned his universe to the ground. When he pushed his plate away, I went to the counter. I picked up 3 things and laid them in front of him. The Oak Creek Clinic report. The subpoenaed pharmacy receipts Tom pulled, showing massive purchases of sleep aids, and Vince's manila envelope. I sat down across from him and shut my mouth. Let the engine noise tell the story, Mac. Jake looked at the clinic report first. He picked it up casually, but as he read the chemical breakdown, his face turned to stone. The color drained out of his cheeks. He put it down. He picked up the pharmacy receipts. Then, he opened the manila envelope. He got to the second photo of Brooke and Chase Miller before he closed it. The kitchen was so dead quiet you could hear the compressor on the refrigerator kick on. Jake stood up. He didn't flip the table. He didn't yell. He just said, I'll be right back. And he walked down the hall and locked himself in the guest bathroom. I stayed on my stool. Asterisk. Process it, kid. Take your time. Asterisk. He was in there for 11 minutes. I know because I stared at the microwave clock the entire time. When the door finally unlocked and he walked back into the kitchen, his eyes were bloodshot, but his jaw was locked tight. He sat back down and rested his hand on top of the envelope. Does Chloe know? He asked, his voice gravelly. No. She just knows the fruit punch makes her brain fuzzy. Jake gave a slow, terrifying nod. Good. Keep it that way. In that exact second, I saw the real Jake. The blindfold was off. The traveling salesman was gone, and the father was sitting in front of me. How long have you had this? He asked. Since Thursday afternoon. He looked at me, a bitter smirk flashing across his face. You built the whole case before you brought it to the jury. I couldn't give you a single loophole to crawl through, Jake. He pushed the envelope toward me and pulled out his cell phone. Give me Tom Vance's personal cell. That's my boy. Jake didn't go screaming back to Barrington. He stayed at my place the entire weekend. He cooked pancakes for Chloe. He played board games with her. He just watched her, soaking in the fact that she was safe. On Monday morning, after I dropped Chloe off at school, Jake drove back to his house. He had already moved the liquid assets to a new account. Tom had already drafted the emergency custody papers. Jake was surgical about it. He walked into the kitchen. Brooke was sitting at the island, drinking an iced matcha latte, wearing her workout gear. She smiled at him. Hey, you're back early. Jake sat down across from her and slid the toxicology report across the quartz countertop. Brooke looked at it. The smile vanished. She instantly went into damage control. That was her fatal error. She didn't play dumb. She tried to justify it. Jake, listen. She was having night terrors, and I just needed her to rest. Jake dropped the photos of her and Chase Miller right on top of the medical report. Brooke stopped breathing. I trusted you with my home. I trusted you with my name, Jake said, his voice ice cold. I trusted you with my daughter. You poisoned her. Jake, I love her. I was just stressed. You drugged my kid so you could sleep with a finance bro at the Marriott. Jake picked up his car keys. Pack a bag. You have until noon. You can't take my daughter from me, she screamed. Jake stopped at the door and looked back. I didn't take her. You gave her away. And he walked out. I'll give you the epilogue, but it's not out of an action movie. Real life doesn't work like that. It's lawyers, mediation rooms, and brutal paperwork. Jake got full, undisputed physical and legal custody. Brooke's lawyer tried to argue severe maternal burnout, but Tom Vance fed them into a wood chipper. He brought Dr. Hayes in. He submitted the receipts. The judge took one look at the talk screen and granted supervised visitation only, pending a massive investigation by Child Services. The state actually filed reckless endangerment charges. Chase Miller? As soon as the PI contacted him, he completely folded, gave up texts, hotel dates, everything. Threw Brooke right under the bus to keep his own name out of the mud. The Barrington house was sold. The profits were split, but Brooke walked away with a fraction of the lifestyle she used to have. Her perfect Instagram account was deleted. Sometimes the bad guys don't go out in a blaze of glory. Sometimes they just lose everything, quietly, on a stack of legal paper. If this story hit home for you, join the community. Hit that like button, subscribe for more real-life stories about family and consequence, and I'll catch you in the next video.